Ingrid. Now, Management Consultancy International has been providing leadership and management training for nearly 10 years. So, with many CEOs being shown the door lately, how important is better leadership? For more, we're joined by Dr. Denise, the Educational Director of Management Consultancy International. How are you?
Good, thank you, Peter.
Look, I use that link. You know, we've seen James Warburton, we've seen Kloppers go, yeah. We've seen Rio Tinto's Albanese go. It's been a tough time for CEOs. You're in the leadership business. You come from South Africa. That will show up after you say a couple of more words. In Australia, were you surprised that leadership doesn't seem to be a big issue? I know in America there's leadership speakers everywhere, and I think it's a reflection of the appetite for it. But in this country, leadership is a growing thing, but it's still quite small.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Peter. I've just returned from a major learning and development conference in the USA where I was presenting in one of the sessions. And what they were saying is that for every position in the USA, there are at least 2 people ready to step up into that role. And I certainly don't think that is the situation in Australia. Could be a lack of skills training, could be a lack of competency, but what we're noticing is that in Australia, there's no kind of vertical drilling down of leadership skills. There's no horizontal spreading of those skills. So they wait until people have the name or the title management plastered on their door, and by then it's a bit late.
And I even noticed in the newspaper game that often a great journalist is then made editor, and then maybe editor-in-chief, and all of a sudden his skills to write great stories aren't going to help him when he's bossing people around, or more importantly, leading people. And that's the thing that quite surprises me. So that's your game.
That's right.
All right. What kind of businesses come to you looking for help?
I think
or individuals?
Yeah, and I think organisations that do take learning and development seriously do come to us, because as you well know, when times get tight, sometimes budgets, when it's around learning and development, do get cut. But organisations that believe that it should be a sustainable process where leaders are continuously grown, because again, we're finding that up to 60% of people who are promoted into management roles don't have the skills, as just what you were alluding to right now. So they've got the technical ability, but
and the
nothing
truly
else.
Great companies actually breed great leaders in them. So one thing I guess you could say about Rio, at least there was someone really good like Sam Walsh to come in and take the spot. And also BHP, Kloppers goes and Mackenzie's there. That's also a sign of a great company, that you actually breed leaders, and I think IBM and GE were quite famous for doing exactly that.
So, because then succession planning is in place, and also their retention strategies, because I know it's a rather fluffy word for business analysts, but culture drives everything. And if that culture is not what it should be, you're not going to be achieving the kinds of high performance levels you want.
Okay, tell us what you guys do. Imagine I'm a business, and let's say I'm a medium-sized business, and I haven't really had a real attention to building up leadership in my organisation. What would a company like yours do?
I think, first of all, we're very fortunate in Australia because the government does fund training to a certain extent. So if I was in a CFO position, I'd be seeking to find or identify funding streams for the organisation.
That's good too.
So that's a good thing to start with. What I would also then be doing is looking at beyond traditional ways of training and move more into the online and virtual training space, which is more budget friendly, has a far wider reach than having 12 people sit for a whole day in a training program, and also leads to far better impact and results.
It always seems a threat to my very industry that I say the number of people I see reading newspapers on aeroplanes when they really should be reading books on leadership, because that's their job. Are Australians good consumers of books on leadership?
Yes,
they are.
They certainly are, but it's the translation of the theory into the practice where I think the challenge arises. It's all fine to watch it on 20 PowerPoint slides in a training room, or read it in theory, it sounds great. But when you're in practice and you've got to deliver, that's where the challenge is.
Okay, so how does someone overcome that from theory to reality?
It's certainly embedding the skills as you are learning and as you're being trained, because we, certainly at our age, tend to lose memory, and we don't want to be in a training room and remember 10% of what we learned when the training went on for 8 hours. Not exactly good bang for buck.
No, exactly right. Now, We're running out of time, but if people want to know more about your business and what you do, what's the website?
We're mci.edu.au, and we've got heaps of information there. People are more than happy to.
Okay, and I guess my last question,
us.
if I'm a small business, am I going to be able to afford your services?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's not just a big business
No, our clients are from all ends of town.
Great. Well, Denise, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Coming up, sales and marketing expert John Lees will look at the boo-boos salespeople make in trying to make that sale.